My name is Panos Papanastasio. I'm the Group MD of Citygate Group. We are property developers based in Abuja, but we also operate in other parts of the country. We build mostly estates, which are gated estates, and we build mostly for middle class and upper class housing, duplexes, flats, and single family homes. But the trend, of course, in Nigeria now, and the big thing is to start looking at the bigger market, which is obviously the affordable housing market. Okay, so that's who we are. Inflation has affected everyone. At every level of society, inflation is there. Whether it's your food, whether it is your building materials, whether it is your car fuel, it's all gone up. So it makes it more difficult. We hope and believe that at some point it will stabilize and it will make things a little bit easier for everyone to plan ahead. As far as planning is concerned and selling, even those who can afford middle class housing do have liquidity issues because of inflation, so which has forced us to raise our prices. Now, maintaining a price level over time is desirable. It may be doable under certain circumstances, but in some cases there is what we call in the legal terms the force majeure, which unfortunately presses us to raise our prices beyond what has already been agreed. Having said that, I believe that one can hedge against inflation by putting in as much finance into the project as possible upfront, so that we can buy the materials and finish the job. But it's not always as easy as it sounds, especially for people who need to put up the money. We understand that. So that's why what we do is, as Citygate, because we have that capacity and capability, what we do is we try and build the houses with our own funds, with our own resources, and then build them to a certain level where the client comes in and says, okay, how much has this house cost to build? And we give them, then we pass on those prices to them so they can take it up from where we left off and start financing it from that point on. But that's one way we do it in order to protect both sides, the client as well as Citygate. We heard some very interesting approaches at the opening ceremony today. I will point out two or three of them. First of all, one of the speakers mentioned the fact that the surveyor and the whole legislative approach to property development needs to be streamlined. That is very, very important. We cannot operate in one state in this way and in another state in another manner. Second, obviously, land banking, which Pastor Shomole mentioned, is an attractive proposition. But that is if you have the years ahead. If you are young enough and you buy your land, then yes, you have years ahead. But someone who is in retirement, who's approaching retirement, it's not easy for him to say, okay, I'll buy this land cheap and wait for it 30, 40 years to raise in price. Now, these were correct approaches. I give a lot of, let's say, hope to two speakers I heard today. The first is the Honorable Minister, who said that they are preparing legislation in order to make things a little bit easier, both for developers as well as for house owners. The second is, again, streamlining legislation, making it simpler to buy and build houses. The mortgage system has to be simplified, making it a little bit easier for everyone to afford housing. Most important, and I need to, as far as Citygate is concerned, what we want to see is a framework where, number one, as some speakers said, give incentives to developers. You must give incentives. We have zero incentives. Why should anybody risk their money to go into real estate when they can do something else with it? So we need incentives, maybe tax incentives, maybe some breaks in certain fees and so on, just to make it a bit more interesting for us. But very, very critical is to make it easy for foreign investors to come into Nigeria in the real estate department. What I mean by that, if I am a foreign investor, I have two problems with Nigeria. Number one, I'm not aware of the opportunities. Nobody has ever educated me. Nobody has ever presented to me what is Nigeria in real estate terms. So that is one thing. The second thing is those who know are hesitant to enter the Nigerian market because of the so many problems that they've heard of. They have that concern. They say, what's going to happen to me if I bring my money to Nigeria? How do I get it out? How do I make it grow? Who are my local partners with whom I can work with and who are trustworthy and transparent? So what we believe can be done is, number one, a public relations campaign abroad. A very strong. We know that Mr. President has done a lot from his side to bring in, to make the investment community abroad more aware of Nigeria on many sectors. But I'm speaking specifically of the real estate sector. The real estate sector needs its own campaign, its own crusade of public relations abroad, and make investors understand that, you know what, Nigeria is much, much safer than you think it is. It is much better to invest in, and we have the government backing us. Not that every 3 years or every 2 years or every 6 years legislation changes. We have to have a stable environment. So these investors will be then drawn into Nigeria. So I think that public relations campaign is very critical.
My name is Reverend Dr. Ugochukwu Chime. I'm the Group Managing Director of Copen Group of Companies. Copen is into banking, is into manufacturing, is into real estate, is also into agriculture, and is also into various other service offerings like the mortgage sector. And we've been here for the past, we're in our 30th year of existence. We've been transited from being a consultancy company in the real estate space to become a major player in the real estate space, developing all kinds of homes. And that is where we are as of today. And we are glad to be here to be part of the 18th African International Housing Show. And I happen to be a director of African International Housing Show, which is organized by Festus Adebayo. Over the years, we've been working shoulder to shoulder with him to ensure that we have a place where stakeholders in the housing sector can all come together. Whether you are from the public sector or from the private sector, we need one another to be able to initiate policies and practice that will drive the sector and unlock the huge potential for socioeconomic growth, employment generation, and multiplier effect in various local economies. And that's why we are here today. And as you could see, we have players from UK. They have a very strong delegation from United Kingdom that came in here. I have strong delegation from other countries like Morocco, Turkey, and other South China. We have brought them together to be able to see over 250 Nigerians. How can we house them? Every day we have 2.6% growth in our population. That is equivalent to about 5 million people per annum. So how do you house them? So that is a question of today and a question for tomorrow. So we are trying to see how we can provide tomorrow's answers today. And that is what we have seen today. You saw the Senate President here, you saw the various ministers who came around, you saw the member of the House of Reps, you also saw the representative of Mr. President, President Tinubu here. We are going to have this for the next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, ending on that Friday to 26th and then 27th. Our idea is that annually, can we come and do a review of how far we have fared in the sector and be able to dimension the pathway for future growth, develop a roadmap that will be inclusive, involving the public sector and the private sector, because the sector is a multidisciplinary sector that requires coming together of all the stakeholders to find a way how each person can play their role in a very collaborative and harmonious way. And we have succeeded in the sense that the advocacy have reached out to everybody. We have state commissioners who are in charge of housing coming around. We have various other interest groups, people from the banking sector that are here. It cannot be better. This is an initiative from one man that has now snowballed into a national expression for Nigeria. Thank you so much.
My name is Dr. Joseph Oyabe. I'm the Group Head Corporate Communications of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN. Yes, the Federal Mortgage Bank, as we all know, is the apex brokerage institution in Nigeria. It's an organization that provides finance for affordable housing in Nigeria in terms of mortgages. And of course, we know that there's a great housing deficit in Nigeria. And the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is a key enabler, in making sure that people are able to get affordable housing. Not only affordable housing, but the type of houses that Nigerians need, especially those in the lower and middle income brackets. Basically, that's what the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria was set up for. We need to understand that there are so many products that the bank has. There is the basic NHF loan, which as we know is a loan that is given at a rate of 6%, and for those that are very young can even be able to access this loan and pay back for as long as 30 years. But then the bank has also taken note of those that have other challenges and has tried to meet the different challenges that people have. One of those products that we have to meet challenges is the rent-to-own scheme, and the rent-to-own scheme was actually designed to make sure that for those houses, especially the funded estates, people can access them without actually making any payment or personal stake. So you simply paying some kind of rent on a monthly basis. It's given at the rate of 7%. Single digit, that's what makes it very interesting. But given at the rate of 7%, and at the end the house becomes yours. Very interesting. We also have other products like the individual construction loan. The individual construction loan is given for those who want to build houses to their own taste, and want to build them in various milestones. So the loan is disbursed, various tranches depending on the level of completion. And they build it to your own taste, with your own design. Is that not lovely? We also have the cooperative housing development loan. We know that there are a lot of cooperative societies in Nigeria. So the bank has also taken advantage of this to reach out to those cooperative societies to make sure that cooperative societies can come together and access a loan from the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. The interesting thing about this? To access this loan, the cooperative society can even determine the developer that will build the estate for them. It makes it very interesting, so that they can decide exactly the type of designs they want for their houses. So many products. In short, there's another one that I'm sure almost every civil servant knows, and that is the home renovation loan. The home renovation loan is one that is given for you to make an uplift or to renovate your house. That loan is a figure of 1 million naira. It's given for those who actually you already have a property, but you want to give it a facelift. We have typical situations where you have someone whose daughter or son is about to get married and wants to do an uplift, of his house, renovate the house. You can easily go for such a loan. It can be paid back very easily, and that makes everyone happy. There are so many products also that the bank is coming up with, because we have a group that is solely responsible for churning out new products, looking at the various challenges that come up with time. I must first of all thank Mr. Festus Adebayo for putting this show together. This is the 18th one, and one thing that we seem to notice is that this show seems to get better every year. It gets better every year. The good thing about it to FMBN is that it's able to bring about improvement in partnerships with regards to housing delivery. One of the major pillars of the present administration, led by Mr. Shehu Osidi, is this collaboration. And there is no way the housing sector can improve in Nigeria without adequate collaboration. Now, by the time you bring all these stakeholders together, it enhances collaboration, and that is even best for the country and best for the mortgage sector.
Okay, my name is Priscilla. I'm a sales and marketing executive with Urban Shelter. And Urban Shelter is a property development company with over 33 years experience in property development. We are present in various parts of this country. We're in Lagos, we're in Kaduna, we're in Mina, of course we're in Abuja, and we have presence in Ghana, Dubai, and we hope to reach out to the world eventually. So we have various property types. We have commercial developments, we have residential developments, and we have different price points from mid-end, high-end, and of course low-end. We have properties as low as 5 million in terms of the commercial, or even 4 million if you want an open store at Kubwa Mall. And what stands us out from the rest? We've been in this business for over 33 years, and we've acquired expertise on the field, and our mode of operation stands us out. We have payment structures. We introduce payment plans. We had a payment plan that was up to like 5 years before the economy changed, and we had to resize or restructure our payment plans. So, and then our houses are very unique. We have unique designs, and we pride ourselves at setting the pace. We have house designs that others have copied, and our properties have this unique brick lacing that stands us out. If you see any Urban Shelter estates, one thing you will notice before being told this is Urban Shelter, you will see the brick fencing, the bricks around the estate. So this, amongst others, makes us stand out. The thing is, there is no visibility that is too much visibility. So we want from this housing show, we want to register our presence. We're still here, and we're drumming it louder that we're still in business and we're not leaving anytime soon.
Remember, the theme for this housing show is finances. Finance is one of the major bottlenecks in housing, affordable housing. But what we are saying is that at the end, just as you said, government will be able to know that some stakeholders are pressing for banks, to be able to release land. Also, the government will release land to people. The advocacy will be on. But I remember there is one thing I still want to say. When you release money for us to build houses, people have to know how to build the houses so that building collapses will not continue to increase the deficit. Our major aim now is to get the right people to do the right thing at the right time, and so that we can reduce the building deficit. With that, all Nigerians will have building and a roof over their heads, and not going back to rebuild what we had already built. I would want government to address most critical points of regulation and compliance, because the government might have, really we have very good brains, technocrats, to provide solutions to housing deficit. Technocrats to make sure housing is affordable. But it's at the implementation stage that we have the problem we are having. But I'm believing that with this government that we have, that when we have 7 professionals in the built environment that has to do with housing, everyone will have to face and know their duties. When architects design, the structural engineers design the structural, the estate, quantity surveyors know the pricing. There's a professional sector also, the builders, where I am the president. We are fully trained how to do the production, so that too much of this building collapses. It's embarrassing. in a country that we have good technocrats who can build as much as every other person, but because of laxity in promulgating some regulations, this time around I think we are going to advocate for promulgation of most of these regulations and compliance, so that builders will really know. How come when you see a structure today and you get to decide, you know who is in charge, but the moment that building collapses, nobody knows who was in charge, what is really happening? This time around, government will have to go a step further to discipline whoever that is in charge. And I'm very sure that when builders are involved, Nigerian Institute of Building, when builders are involved in most of these things, collapses will be a thing of the past.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Housing TV Africa. On Twitter, Housing TV Africa. Instagram, Housing TV Africa.
Housing TV Africa, your first in housing development broadcasting.